3. We have the cube root, 72, x to the 9th, y to the 7th, z to the 4th. So we have to break down each piece. The cube root is 72. We need a perfect cube that goes into 72. What would that be? 8, 9. The cube root of 8 is 2, so a 2 comes out. The 9 stays under. Okay, if I have 9 x's, how many groups of 3 can we make? 3. Are there any leftovers?
No.
All right, if I have 7 z or y's, how many groups of 3?
2.
How many are left over?
1.
So 1 stays underneath. If I have 4 z's, how many groups of 3? How many left over?
1.
So it's 2x cubed y squared z times the cube root of 9y. So just make sure you're paying attention to that index. You know if you're doing a cube root or a square root as you work through those problems. Problem 6. We have x squared y cubed z. All right, there are different places you can start here. We can either simplify inside or take everything to the -4 to begin. Do you guys have a preference? Then let's simplify on the inside. My coefficients, I have a 2, that's all, so it's going to stay. With my x's, if they're on top and bottom, you subtract exponents. Which one's bigger, 2 or -3?
2.
So we're going to subtract -3. So 2 minus -3 is 5. Okay, I only have my 3 y's. My z's, this is 1 and that's 4. 4 is bigger, so we're going to bring this down. So 4 minus 1 is 3. So we have z to the 3rd on the bottom. Let's deal with just the negative piece. What does a negative do? Flips it. So I could flip the entire thing. And then my exponent is just +4. Then you can take your 4th power to each. So 2 to the 4th, z to the 12, power to a power, we're multiplying. X, 4 times 5 is 20. Y to the 12. That's your final answer. All right. You don't necessarily have to do the pieces in that order. But if you get confused, just go one step at a time as you work through there. Problem 7. To multiply fractions, you just go straight across. We multiply the tops, we multiply the bottoms. The problem is we want our answer to be as simplified as possible. So it's easier to factor first and see if anything reduces than it is to multiply it all out and try to factor a complicated answer. So x squared minus 9, how does that factor? Okay, x squared minus x, what can you do? All right, over here we just have x minus 1, that doesn't factor. X squared minus 3x, you can take out an x. Since x minus 1 is on top and bottom, it can cancel. It doesn't matter if it's in the same fraction or different ones. Same thing with the x minus 3's. So then if you just multiply across, all that's left on the top is x plus 3. All that's left on the bottom, x times x, is x squared. Make sure you are correcting it if you had a mistake. If you have a question as we go through, please speak up. Dividing is very similar, except if you want to divide fractions, what do you have to do? You have multiply by the reciprocal, so we flip the second one. Let's go ahead and factor. X squared minus x minus 6 would factor into x plus 2, x minus 3. X squared minus 1, difference of squares, x plus 1, x minus 1. Can I go ahead and flip as I'm factoring here? Okay, so the 3x plus 3 would be on the top. We could take out a 3. X squared minus 2x minus 8 goes down to the bottom. So multiply negative 8, add to negative 2 would be minus 4 plus 2. So now, what cancels out? X plus 2s. What else? So you're left with 3 times x minus 3 over x minus 1 times x minus 4. You could certainly multiply it out and say 3x minus 9 over x squared minus 5x plus 4, but you don't have to. I would take either answer. Let's look at problem 13, or the multiplying and dividing questions of it. So factor first, cancel top and bottom, then multiply what's left. Problem number 13. Our directions are to factor, not solve. So we have x cubed minus 8x squared minus 4x plus 32. We always check for a GCF. Does anything go into all 4 terms? No. So if you have 4 terms, what's the typical strategy? Grouping. Okay, so we put the first 2 together, but here's the problem. Can I put a parenthesis after a subtraction sign? No. Before I add my parenthesis, I need to make this plus negative 4. And then I put my parentheses. Okay, first parenthesis, x squared minus, or x cubed minus 8x squared. What can we take out? And that leaves x minus 8. Second one, negative 4x plus 32. What can we take out? Negative 4. And we took out a negative because we want that first term positive. That's x minus 8. At this point, we have 2 terms. Grouping worked if you have the same thing in the parentheses, which we do. So we can factor out the x minus 8, and we're left with x squared minus 4. But I'm not done. Typically, I am here. Why am I not done yet?
X squared and 4.
X squared minus 4 is a difference of squares, so that can go one more step. Into x plus 2, x minus 2. Since there's not an equal sign, we're just factoring, not solving. That's our answer. Is there anything else on this first page that you would like for me to go over? Second page, we asked about question number 17. Bob invests $22,000, some at 7% and some at 6% annual interest. What we did on these word problems, when we had a lot of different information, we made a table. Across the top, we put our formula. If I'm talking about interest, what would my formula be? What's the interest formula? Those are my columns. My rows are the different things. We have some of it going at 7%, some of it going at 6%, and then we do our total. Now we have to figure out where our numbers go in this. So he invests $22,000. What is that number? Where would I put the 22,000? Well, it's what I have all together, yeah. So that's my total principal, what we start with. Some of it at 7%. I don't tell you how much, so what do we call it? X. And some of it at 6%. I can't just call both of these X because it's not the same. if I had 22,000 and I took away 2,000, how much would you have left? 20,000. How'd you get that? Close. 22,000 minus X. The total minus the amount we already spent. All right, 7%. My rate then is 0.07. 6% is 0.06. My time after 6 months. Time has to be in years. 6 months is how much of a year? 0.5 or 1/2. He receives a return of $710. So that is the total interest he was paid. It's okay to have some holes in the table as long as you are able to get this last column. We can do that now by multiplying. So X times 0.07 times 0.05, or times 0.5 is 0.035X. Here, 0.06 times 0.5 is 0.03 times 22,000 minus X. This was the hard part. Now we need our equation. How do we get the equation from here? I have the amount of interest I got from one investment, the amount from the other, and my total. Good. So she added these two up. To equal our 7. Now, you might have had the X and 22,000 minus X flipped. That doesn't matter. That's why we write a sentence at the end. So if I distribute the way I have it set up, so if I combine my like terms, I get 0.035x equals, if I subtract that over 50, that's 0.005. I keep making mistakes. Divide by 0.005. If you had your X as the other one, you would have gotten 12,000. So now we just answer with a sentence. So Bob invests. My X was my 7%, so $10,000 at 7%. And to get my 6%, 22,000 minus X would be $12,000. At 6%. Are there any questions on that? Problem 19, equation of a line. So we want to be perpendicular to 2x minus 5y equals 6. First, let's get this in y equals mx plus b equal. So we subtract over the 2x, divide by the negative 5. All right. What does parallel mean? Let's start there. Parallel are two lines that never intersect, so the slope is the same. Perpendicular, they meet at a right angle, so that means their slopes are opposite reciprocals. The slope of this line is 2/5. If I want to be perpendicular, you have to flip it, so 5/2, and change the sign, so -5/2. And then we have a point, or 1. So that's all I need now. Then you can either plug into y equals mx plus b, or most of you did point slope formula. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. I don't care which way, you'll get it either way. So the y value of my point is 1. Y minus 1 equals -5/2 times x minus 4. So if I add over my 1, I get y being -5/2 x plus 11.